Caylee Anthony, a name you might be familiar with, trying to reintroduce herself as we're following this very closely on Live Now from Fox. The Florida mother was acquitted in the death of her 2-year-old daughter back in 2008. And after 14 years, she's now promoting her new role on social media as a legal advocate. I want to put up just this because it came down on social media as a video posted there. She's saying, "This is my first of probably many recordings in a series that I'm starting. I'm a legal advocate. I'm a researcher. I have been in the legal field since 2011 in this capacity. I feel it's necessary if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter." And you can imagine the responses, the blowback from this most recent post. And we're going to continue to follow it. We're going to be joined right now by TMZ executive producer Michael Babcock. Michael, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What do we make of this? Because the reemergence, the reintroduction to Caylee Anthony, what are we seeing from this, and what was her goal in starting this?
Hey, Andy, thanks for having me. I mean, it's really surprising. You know, I think, depending on people's ages, you will remember this case. This was a massive, massive case. I mean, certainly, of the 21st century, one of the biggest that we've seen. And obviously, people who followed will remember that she was acquitted in 2011. So it's interesting, Andy, when she says that she has been in this industry since 2011, and that's something she said in her TikTok video. I think you're to assume then that she is probably referencing the fact that she was in a courtroom and, she was acquitted of these incredibly serious charges, murder charges. Now, she's not an attorney. She has not gone to law school. She has not passed the bar. So she's not going to be taking any cases, but she describes herself as a legal advocate. And it sounds like, if you read between the lines, Andy, that she is going to be, people would reach out to her and then she would connect them presumably with an attorney and act as a middleman of sorts. But it's a bit puzzling, to be honest. I don't know that someone out there who is going through perhaps a legal battle that you want to sort of align yourself with Caylee Anthony, who, despite the fact that a jury found her not guilty, I think many people still believe that she is responsible for this horrific crime of the death of Caylee Anthony, although she, again, was found not guilty. So she describes herself as a legal advocate. She says that she is, when it comes to the LGBTQ field, that is, something that she has particular interest in. And again, legal advocate is how she's described herself.
Yeah, it's a little bit bizarre after this heinous crime. And like you reiterated, a jury did acquit her of that crime more than 10 years ago, and the legal standing in which she has. Take me back to 2008 when this was all going down, when they were at the trial. Was she involved in her defense? Did we learn anything about that? Because some defendants are more involved than others. Was it our understanding that she was involved at all in her own defense?
I don't think so. I recall at the time never having heard that. And even since, in the years since that not guilty verdict, I don't believe that she played some, oversized role in her defense. Obviously, she was involved, but she had, at the end of the day, a very competent attorney in Jose Baez. And he was somebody who at the time wasn't very well known on a national stage, but he became famous in his own right because of how effectively he argued her case. And despite the fact that there was seemingly a ton of evidence that might suggest she was responsible, he was a really, want to talk about a legal advocate. He was a very effective advocate on her behalf. So no, I don't think there's anything to suggest, Andy, that she really was overly involved in her case. And I don't know that she has any expertise here. I think people are interested in her clearly still. I mean, she hasn't been on TikTok all that long. She's already got 50,000 people who have followed her. She's got something like 2.2 million views on this video already. So there's clearly still interest in Caylee Anthony. I just don't know if there's any interest in her being a legal advocate for anybody.
Yeah, that is so very true. And like you mentioned, the association, even if you believe you are innocent, being associated with Caylee Anthony might not help your case. And the TikTok, the post is a little contradictory because she also introduced herself and then she says, I was a household name back in 2008 during this case. So it's a contradiction. So very interesting. I kind of want to interested in my questions was, what's the goal goal of this? Is it a cash grab because you can potentially make money through this as well?
Right.
Do you think that's a part of it?
Yeah, I think it probably is. She is, pushing people. She's got the TikTok account, but she is also pushing people to Substack, where you can charge subscription fees to have access to her. And but even in the TikTok video, Andy, she has sort of teased that people who do subscribe to her will have access to her and be able to ask her questions. So she hasn't. The one thing I will say for her, she has not really remained in the spotlight in the last 15 or so years when she probably could have. There are a number of different things that she could have done to stay relevant in pop culture. She has sort of faded away in many aspects. So I think, there's probably an aspect to this where she wants to make money. And I'm sure she may not get anyone acquitted ever of a crime, Andy, but I'm sure she will make a decent chunk of change for herself here.
Yeah, and that's a good point. She really took herself out of the spotlight when she very well could have tried to capitalize on just the name recognition, obviously no even connection to the crime. My last question before I let you go, because we know what social media can be, the cesspool that it sometimes is. Do you think that could eventually lead to her getting off different platforms because the comments are going to be very, very bad? We've already seen them go that direction. Do you think that's a concern for her?
I'm sure it is. And I think that's probably why she hasn't been active over the years on social media, Andy. And really, like we said, this Substack is a subscription-based model. So I think if anybody out there wants to sign up, subscribe, and possibly pay a monthly fee and just to roast Casey Anthony, then maybe she says, okay, I'll take it. But she has sort of insulated herself by saying, hey, I'm not going to post on Instagram or TikTok necessarily, but we'll go over to Substack where you've got to pay for my content.
All right, that is a good point. All right, Michael Babcock, so very interesting. Casey Anthony starting as a legal advocate, posting this on TikTok, on social media. Thanks again. I appreciate your time, your insight. So very interesting.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate you having me.
All right. Thank you so much. Great conversation there, as always. We're following the latest here on this on LiveNOW from Fox's Casey Anthony, a name you might be familiar with after she was acquitted in her 2-year-old daughter's death back in the mid to late 2000s. So following this closely here on LiveNOW from Fox, we'll see what comes of this, as she said she feels that it is necessary, quote, if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter. Anthony was promoted in her new subscription-based Substack platform, which reads, it has been more than 16 years since my name became a household name. Everyone seems to have opinion about me and about my life. I am an advocate, a researcher. These are my words. This is my real life, and potentially could help others that she feels might be wrongly convicted of different crimes, of other crimes. All right, I'm Andy Mack. We're back after this.